Whoa. All right, let's get this. The thing with Frank is he's a small guitar, man. And so in order to get him in the frame, you got to get him in the frame. All right, let's discuss this. Okay, so today is the 21st of December, 2024. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is In the Image Clothing Company music. I guess we're going to go up there. What we're going to do within this video is talk about why guitars don't stay in tune. And really, it's how to have your guitar stay in tune. With a guitar, what you need to do in order for it to stay in tune. If you've had a guitar and you've played it and it seems like you're tuning it all the time, you get it out of the case and it's out of tune, you tune it back up, and then the next time you play it, you feel like you have to tune it again. Well, here's the thing. This is what we need to focus on. With a guitar, what we want is we want the strings to be having the least amount of possible play within them that we can, without having them so locked into place that they can't vibrate freely. So this is what we're gonna need to do. What I like to do is down here at the bottom, when you wrap the strings around, I like to just wrap them all once. See that? You wrap them all once, and that way it's just wrapped. Now, because what'll happen is if you wrap your strings around here when you're tying them, right? Always start from this side for these three, and then from this side for these three, okay? So that it looks like this. The tails are going the opposite ends. All right. But when you do wrap strings around to tie them off down there on the block of the bridge, if you wrap multiple times, what you're doing is each of those winds that you do, there's the potential for over time it to slip and slip and slip and lock into place and kind of get cinched up even tighter. But when it's just one loop, it just cinches until that one loop is cinched tight. So that's really going to help, because then over time it's not just tightening, 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 right, as there's tension on the strings. And then up at this end, I've shown this before, where when your strings are coming out of where they're wound around those little tuning barrels, those little white things in the center of the, these things, where the strings are wound around here, once the string's actually done with that winding and it's coming out and coming down, you want there to be just a little bit of separation between the winding of the string and then the actual string coming out, right? A little bit of separation between the winding of the string and then the string actually coming out for all of them. Because if that string is sitting right against the rest of itself that's wound around the little tuning barrels, then it's got friction against itself, right? So it's wrapping around and it's a friction, and then it could slip and slip and slip over time. But if it's, wrapped and then you've got a little bit of gap and so it's coming out freely, now the only tension being pulled on it is right against the actual tuning barrel. Or wrapping the little barrel you wrap it around. And so now it's not going to be kind of catching against itself and potentially slipping over time. And also what you can do, what I do is, you can see how they're pretty well, all the little wraps of the string are pretty well squished up against each other, right? Sometimes you'll look at people's guitars up at the headstock and they just stick the string in there so it's locked into place, and then they'll just sit there and just wind it and wind it and wind it. They won't pay attention up here. And so it'll be overlapping all weird up there, or it'll just be so pulling in weird directions. Yeah, as I show within the video that we have titled Full Nylon String Guitar Setup, you want everything to be pulling out up here, right? So the E's are actually going to the outside when they're wrapping, and then the other four are going to the inside, but just because of the location of them, all the strings are slightly going out, right? Like that. And you can tell what I'm talking about. So, why was I saying that specifically? Oh, I guess, yeah, when you're winding up the string, just don't willy-nilly wind the string. Don't do it without a care. Be very intentional to, I'm saying, get them all wound really close together, and then once that last winding comes out, then put a gap. Because now, when I was talking about it potentially like locking against itself, like the string, as it's wound around there, now it'll do that on the parts you don't want to move, and then that very last one, it'll be free to just vibrate. So that's what's going to allow your guitar to stay in tune well. And that's what we need, because really what's happening is when your guitar's not staying in tune, other than when you do first put strings on, it takes sometimes even a couple days for the strings to fully stretch into place, and then they're like at their full stretch, if you will. That takes a little bit of time. And so once you do put strings on at first, it's going to fall out of tune. It just will. Something that they've made, you know, the strings, they need to get pulled on to the point where they're going to be like done being pulled, right? Until they stop stretching. And so that'll happen. But then after that period of stretch at the beginning, the guitar shouldn't fall out of tune. Doing these things, your guitar can actually stay in tune for a long time and really well. Meaning you can tune it and then play it like all day, and it's not needed to be tuned again. And you know what's happening again with the like unintentionality, if you will. If you're not being intentional about the way that you wind the strings up here, and if you're, you know, wrapping it to where there's just potential for it to slip over time down here, you know, multiple wraps, then that's actually those are the things that are causing your guitar to not stay in tune. One more thing I'll mention is these little screws that go into the tuning barrels that go just like straight into it. You want these to be like these black screws, not these little ones here that are silver are just holding this side plate of the tuning peg like assembly on. But the little screw that actually goes into the barrel, you want that tight, but only tight enough to where you take it and it stops. You don't want to like really try to like make it tight. You just want to make sure it's, put the screwdriver on there and do it until it stops. Because if that's loose, then the, you know, the tension of the string on it can just potentially start to twist the tuning peg. So yeah, okay, so there you go. That's how you're going to allow your guitar to stay into tune and stay in tune. Yeah, and it's surprising. I got this little guy, Frank the guitar. I got him 3 days ago. It was Thursday. Today's Saturday. Maybe it was, I guess it was 2 days ago. Whatever, you know, however many days ago that was. And he's already staying in tune really well. I had these strings on and off a lot of times because I did a lot of adjustments to this. But yeah, there you go. That's how you're going to allow your guitar to stay in tune. So, like I said, today is the 21st of December, 2024. This is In the Image Clothing Company music, and my name is Evan Strong. So, check out more guitar stuff from me if you'd like to, where you found this. And yeah, thank you. That's how you're going to lessen the amount of times you have to tune your guitar to be able to just play. Okay? Cool. All right. I think I'm going to mention this one time with this. With that single wound at the bottom, like you wind it around just once, it might seem like that has the potential to slip out more than, you know, you think about like tying knots, and like the more knots you tie, it seems like maybe it'll hold better. But really, when it comes to just tying knots, what you want is less wraps of something. You want just one really good solid knot. And so you just want to make this really good and solid. And you can see on these high strings how there's a knot in the end of the string. And that way when it slips, because these are just so slippery, these are wound and these aren't. These high three aren't. They could potentially slip through if you just do one wind, you know? So yeah, putting that knot in the end there, that'll make it so that it just can't slip through. That's, yeah, good to mention. All right, cool. Thank you.